Hello folks, welcome back to another video. So you may or may not have seen the video I did a few months ago for ASMAX, which was a tyre inflator. They asked me if I'd like to try out their F1, headsets. Now, I've always been a Cardo user, but my bolds are getting a little bit long in the tooth now. So I said yes, and I've been using them pretty extensively for the last couple of months. So if this is of any interest, stay tuned and we'll have a look at what's in the box, how to set them up, and then we'll obviously get some final thoughts at the end. Okay, so let's do a quick unboxing of the unit. I'll try and make it as brief as I can because I know these aren't always the most exciting. But we have this sleeve around the box which says ASMAX mesh, intelligent voice commands, 10 people mesh, noise reduction, Bluetooth 5.3 dual chip. World app integration, 50-minute fast charging, personalized lighting. Okay, well, let's put that to one side and have a look at the actual box itself. Stick that over here. So I will confess I've already had part of this out because I have been using one of the units, but we have the actual unit itself, which I have to say seems very well made. Obviously it's made of plastic, but it feels pretty good in the hand, so to speak. We have a little flap here for the USB-C port, which is a little fiddly to push back down, but I believe that some people have the same issues with the Cardo Edge, but yeah, that is a bit tough. Or am I just being stupid? No, I'm not. That is struggling to stay down. Ah, there we go. I had to press more in the middle there. Anyway, right, so that's the unit itself. I've already opened that one up, which is one half of the sort of kit that you get with it. So let's have a look and see what's in here. I'll tell you what, let's just empty it all out and be really crude. So first things first, we have a really nice braided USB-C to USB-A cable in here, which is pretty decent length. I'm not sure, I'd say it's about a meter, maybe 1.5. Branded ASMAX on it, so that's good. That feels pretty decent quality. We have some stickers, a care bag, okay, which I assume is for cleaning it. So yeah, we have a couple of wet wipes and a little sort of glasses, cleaning, cloth. So okay, let's move that out of the way. Okay, so let's stick the USB back over there out of the way. Here we have the adhesive mount for the side of your helmet with some VHB 3M pads on it. Okay, we have what looks like some spare pads there just in case. We have, I'll tell you what, let's leave that till last. We have the metal bit to slide in under your helmet if that's the way you're going to mount this. So let's put that there. We have what I think is the two different types of mics. So let's just get that off when I can do it without being
a few moments later
an idiot about it. There we go. So we have what looks like a little mic that we can, you know, clip and stick into the front of the helmet if you have a closed faced helmet. And we have the boom mic with a spare foam, you know, noise, you know, deadening. I'm not even sure what you actually call these, but yeah, a spare one of those, and an adhesive, you know, pad to be able to mount it into your helmet. And this little clip, obviously this can move, you know, up and down, and with the little arrow, so that needs to be facing your mouth. Very similar to the Cardo. In fact, what I will say is this lead here is very similar. In fact, so similar, it will actually plug into at least the Cardo PackTalk Bold. It uses the same plug. Okay. And then we have the speakers, which are obviously branded, you know, Max. We have some adhesive pads to be able to stick into your helmet, and some extra standoffs if they need to be moved sort of, you know, closer to your ears. And the actual speakers themselves, which have just what looks like a regular 3.5mm plug on them. They look very similar to the 45mm, you know, JBL speakers that I already have. And then we have the actual mount itself, which is in a little foam block to protect it. And then we have the actual plate itself, and obviously the connector for the earphones and for the mic. So yeah, that is everything we have in the box, and I would imagine this will just slide, yeah, into the back of there. There we go, that's everything we have in the box. So I have already installed this on one of my helmets, so let's have a look at how I did that and get the unit, you know, fired up and see what's what. Okay, so one thing I forgot during the unboxing was to mention the you know, manual, which is incredibly comprehensive and very detailed. I'm not going to sit here and obviously go through everything in it, but you've got all of the, you know, all of the quick options, so all of the voice operations there that you can use, as well as instructions for doing the universal pairing, etc, etc. I won't bore you with all of that. If you buy one of these, then obviously you will see that. But I will obviously mention that this does have fast charging. So I've used this for probably 2 hours since I charged it, and it's still reporting full battery. So that's pretty handy. But yes, really good manual. You know, some of these sort of lesser known brands, shall we say, the manuals that they actually come with can be awful, but this is actually really good. Okay, so I've already mounted it in my helmet. I was considering doing a video about how I've, you know, mounted it in it, but in fairness, there's not really anything, you know, different about the way I've mounted it in this helmet, which is the HJC Alpha 90S. I've mounted it in the exact same way that my Cardo PackTalk Bold was. So let me just move this forward. It's really awkward to film this angle. So if I can tip this up, so, you know, obviously I have the unit slid in between the cheek pad and the liner. What I have done is this little port here is for the, I think it's a Cena unit that you can get specifically for the HJC lids, and there is a little bit of a recess in there. So I've actually run some of the wiring and tucked it in there. Some of it I've taped up under the skull cap, but it's a pretty neat install and really doesn't, you know, you know, differ from any other brand out there. I am using, really need somewhere a little bit more spacious than this. I am using the boom mic. Ignore this. This is just my Purple Panda mic that I use for recording audio in my helmet. So yeah, let's sling that on there so it's a bit easier. Okay, so in terms of the magnetic attachment, very easy. So if I can do this, it just literally pops on the side like this, like that. There you go. If you and then when you want to take it off, there's a little clip here. You just basically push back and then slide the unit you know, backwards, and off it pops, and that's it, on, which I really like, because on my Cardo PackTalk Bold, this is getting a little bit loose. I mean, I have had it a while and it is well used, so hopefully this will be a little bit more reliable. Okay, so let's get the unit you know, powered on. To do that, we press these two buttons here and hold them, and there we go, it lights up. Okay, so it says it's at the battery level is at 100. So right, so let's turn this around and let's see if it will recognize. So the voice assistant on this is called Max. So if I say the word, you should see Siri light up on my phone. Hey Max.
Hi.
Play Virgin Radio. I'm not going to let it play because I don't want to get a copyright strike. There we go. And you can use all of the other voice, you know, all of the other voice commands that you want. You know, I don't really tend to use those for obvious reasons. But you can use it to, you know, start and start media, and obviously turn the volume up and things like that. But you can also do it on the side of the helmet here. That's, you know, volume up and volume down, etc. That's maximum volume. So what I will show you is in the app, which I have to say I was very surprised that it has an app. If we go into the app here,
App connected.
there we go, and you have quite a few different settings that you can play with. So the basic information, we can upgrade the firmware, which is all up to date. We can have music effects, which obviously we can't do unless music is playing. We can have the music playing as a background. We can change the notification sound, the phone call volume. I'm actually going to put that up a little bit. We can have auto answer, phone voice assistant, call joining in mesh, add a call. Yeah, okay. We can change the music volume, the mesh intercom, you know, volume, the knocking function, to double tap on the function key and tap twice to enter team grouping. Okay, or auto shutdown options, and then the personalized LED, which I don't know how well it will show up on here because green tends to show up as blue on my you know, camera. But if you really wanted to, you can play around with these and you can change it to a sort of, you know, pink hue. It still comes through a little bit blue. There you go, that's green, and then we have red and blue, and then, you know, back to the paler blue. But I'm going to stick with the darker blue. So this multi-function button here, this you know, this starts and stops music. So let me find something that isn't going to get me a copyright strike, which I should have something on my phone somewhere. There we go, action teaser. So that is playing, and if I press that, it stops, and I press it again and it starts. Very similar. I mean, there aren't too many ways that you can configure a headset. Most headsets, at least the sort of premium end, they have obviously voice activation, physical buttons for controlling media, etc., etc. This has all of it. This has every single feature that my Cardo PackTalk Bold has, and technically more. So it has the magnetic attachment, which obviously only the PackTalk Edge and above has. But it has every other feature that I can think of. I think it has music sharing as well. It obviously has a DMC mesh option. Works fine with my other helmet. Kind of difficult to capture that on video and audio. I suppose the only thing it does lack is being able to bridge, do something similar to the Cardo when it comes to bridging non-branded headsets in. But for the price point, I don't think you can really argue with that. So what you can also do that I didn't realize is you can pair it with your Insta360 if you have one. Now I've just recently bought this, so I'm going to fire this up, and there we go. So what we can do on this is, if we go into Bluetooth headsets, we can, if you press and hold this button here, start pairing, and then we can actually pair it to the Insta360. There we go, ASMAX F1.
Device 2 connected.
There we go, and as you heard, it said device 2. So it is also paired to my phone as well. Now I haven't tried this yet, so this will be a first for me. Is apparently I can use the headset to do voice commands. Start recording. Okay, so I guess I have to be, hey Max, start recording. Ha! There we go, and it works. Hey Max, stop recording. There we go. I was just a bit too far away from the mic. And there we go. That worked brilliantly. Okay, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to intersperse a little bit of onboard footage while I'm, giving you my final thoughts. If I look a bit red in the face, it's because this shed doesn't have any insulation, and it is absolutely roasting here in England right now. Anyway, so what do I like about them? So first of all, I think one standout thing from the two ASMAX products that I've reviewed so far is they're not just generic rehashes or cheap, copies of other units. I mean, there are similarities obviously between these units and the Cardo PackTalk Edge, but there is only so many ways to build a headset. So I like the shape of them. They're very, sleek. They feel very, they feel very well made. Nothing, cheap about them. I like the fact that they've got USB-C, charging. The battery life, I mean, I used them for 6 to 8 hour days riding, and I was still getting like 30, 40, 50% battery left. I've not been able to actually run them down. Voice commands, I mean, obviously with my stammer, as you would imagine, I don't tend to use that too much, but the ones that the times that I did use it, it worked absolutely fine. The quality of the sound, I would say the speakers probably aren't quite the level of the JBL speakers that you get with the Cardo units, but music playback, absolutely fine. The volume was absolutely fine. I could hear them. I would say they were on par in most ways with the PackTalk Bolds that I've been using for a while. I really liked the magnetic attachment, which you know made things quite easy. So yeah, overall, really happy with them. I would say they are 80%, if not more, as good as the PackTalk Bold that I've been using for the last few years. I can't really compare them to the Edge because I don't have that. So noise cancellation on phone calls, nobody had any issues hearing me. Me and my partner, we went out a few times using them, and I think there was a tiny little lag in the audio from helmet to helmet, but it was barely noticeable. So yeah, very happy with them. Like I say, I think the thing that really stands out about these is the attention to detail. And like I say, they've actually tried to make something that could maybe one day rival the bigger names. Things that I didn't like, I mean, it's only really limited to two things. I'm used to the roller wheel on the side of the Cardos, and I found it a little bit harder to work the volume up and down. Now you can do that by voice, and also there is a little point, so in the middle where the actual LED is, where the actual X is, once you find that spot, it's either up or down. So I wouldn't say it's hard, but I'm just used to just doing that and rolling the volume up or down. And the fact that obviously if all of your friends are using Sena, I'm not sure how you say, or they're using the Cardos, although you can pair these in, I believe you're not going to get the full mesh capability. So there is some limitations, but that isn't really the fault of the product. I think if you invest in one ecosystem, you tend to have to stick with it. But apart from that, I thought they were, brilliant. So yeah, those are my thoughts. So yeah, there's obviously an affiliate link in the description if you'd like to use that. I'll put a link to the product. But yeah, hopefully the next video you'll see after this is my tour of Scotland from last weekend. I'm off back up there in a few days. So yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. And if you like my videos, please do consider giving it a thumbs up. And also, if you like it, please do consider also subscribing.